FM. So we're going to go straight to the very recent situation in the judicial system that has created rancor. So the Nigerian Bar Association, right, has disclosed that it was wrong to refer to President Bola Tinubu as an illegal president, since no court has set aside his declaration by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The body of lawyers submitted that as of today there is only one president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the person of President Bola Tinubu. President of the NBA, Yakubu Mikel, made the assertion yesterday at a public presentation of the communique issued at the 63rd Annual General Conference of the Association held in Abuja. The NBA, who was fielding questions from journalists at the event, dismissed insinuations by some lawyers that Tinubu remains an illegal and unconditional president by virtue of the election petitions challenging his legitimacy. Meanwhile, Mikel has denied having monetary reserves when assuming the presidency. He pledged using personal resources in 7 lawyers who entrusted him. Specifically, upon assuming office, Mikel received officers' requests to attend the International Bar Association conference. Shocked by the extravagant cost estimation and considering last year's self-funded trip by the General Secretary, Mikel rejected what he saw as lavish expenditure given their recent assumption of duties. Now, regarding the Commonwealth Lawyers Association conference in Goa, Mikel disclosed self-funding his and the Treasurer's travels, refusing to burden the NBA. He insisted he lacked abundance but acted to appreciate lawyers' trust without taking more NBA funds. Mikel then referenced an initial memo estimating $16,869 for 2 officers to attend the upcoming IBA conference, equating this amount to ensuring 1,000 NBA members. With numerous officers requesting IBA funding, Mikel secured a fresh estimate but declined revealing the figure at the AGM. I want us to actually listen to Mikel addressing the press when most of these questions were being asked, concerning his thoughts on some certain things and considering the legitimacy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Journalist and a philosopher, and thank God you are a journalist, who said, foolish is the man who does not read newspaper. Even foolish is the man who believes what he reads just because he's in a newspaper. So if you fast forward and bring it to this time, you can call it foolish is the man who does not read what is in the social media. Even more foolish is the man who believes what he reads just because it's in the social media. And let me also correct you. What you said you read isn't what you read. Because if what you read in the social media is what I read in the social media, then you are not reporting what you read correctly. So please, I want you to go back and read what you read about the cost of the bags and the cost of air freighting the bags. So it is not that the bags cost this amount of money, but 700 million was paid. So please go and get your facts correctly. Those facts are within your domain. And I would urge that when you read those things, let them simply be a basis for you to conduct investigation. That's the best that an information in the newspapers and social media should do for you. That is why we hurt this country when we carry what we read in the newspaper around as if that is the gospel truth. At the very best, it should put you in an investigation. When you read it, what did you do? Did you come here to ask us? You are a journalist. You are supposed you have that responsibility to direct the people of the country. So, and I don't expect that you should have waited until now that story had gone out, there was a memo, internal memo that was sent out. What did that memo say? And what did the story say? You should have come to find out what happened. And I would urge you in the discharge of your responsibility to simply please put more effort. We shouldn't be lazy at doing our job to help this country. Otherwise, we would destroy this country by simply allowing false information to flourish. And all these details of the purchase of the bags, the air freighting of the bags, are facts that you can verify. You don't even, if you had made an effort, you can verify that. Ethiopian Airline air freighted the bags. And let me tell you, we are a very prudent administration. What we did was to help our members. Are you not happy? And have you told the story that for the first time in a long time, there was no problem with the distribution of bags for the conference? Do we not deserve for you to tell the story that bags arrived on time? The quality that we never had in the history of the Nigerian Bar Association. Is it not your responsibility to tell the story? There was no fight for bags. People came and took bags.
Even before the conference.
Before the conference. People collected their bags. So you are not happy that there was no happened and how to provide the remedy. That is why we must be measured in the way we speak. We can't afford to speak anyhow because of that responsibility. I told the story of how in my village, they are all not literate. They haven't gone to school, many of them. And a woman, because she had me being called barrister, she gave birth to a child and named him Barrister. In 2019 February, because I go home, Supreme Court will say, because I am their Supreme Court, I am their law. So, but the constitution that we must observe, and it is not a question of choice, privilege that God has given to us to boost that stabilization fund to such that with collaboration with banks, it becomes like the guarantee for members of the Nigerian Bar Association to go and get 1 million, 2 million without having to give any collateral.
You just listened to the NBA president, Mikel, and you could hear him berating the journalists who were asking questions about, what transpired at the NBA conference concerning the lawyers and members of the bar getting access to the accessories for the conference. You could hear him passionately talking there. There is a lot that is actually surrounding Mikel. We will be talking about it. And the reason we're talking about it is concerning, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the role that the judiciary needs to play. The NBA conference was meant to address a lot of dire issues, the grey cloud that is surrounding or has shrouded the Nigerian judicial system. And a couple of lawyers were able to express themselves as to a couple of factors that needed to be discussed that weren't discussed. And the person of Mikel entirely. How has the NBA become a silent talisman? Initially, the NBA used to be an organization or an institution that the president used to be afraid of, that the executive used to be afraid of. I recall the days when Festus Keyamo was on the other end, opposite to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu now. He questioned every move of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said a lot of things about his person, against his personality, and as at then, he always stood by what the Nigerian Bar Association upheld. And it's quite unfortunate that we're seeing something different. I have lawyers right here in the studio that will be addressing this. First of all, though, there is a particular individual that is asserting to the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu indeed graduated from Chicago State University, and his name is Farooq Kperogi. While we're talking about this, you recall that for the past 2 weeks, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's certification, especially the school, the institution at Chicago, has been a point of discourse. It was a mental jigsaw. Today you hear that the university's clerk made an error. Later you hear the president say, oh, indeed it was a school. Sometimes the school would say, oh, we are no longer going to release his records. It's a breach of privacy. A couple of back and forth. It took the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party to write to the school to ask that his record be made public, and that was what created the conversation across several sectors of the Nigerian polity, to the extent that this university locked up its X account, its LinkedIn account, its Facebook account, because a lot of Nigerians went there barraging, asking questions and wondering if some monies had been paid. Well, apparently, Farooq Kperogi is saying that President Bola Tinubu undeniably actually had attended the institution, and the particular yearbook, which is 1979, which was previously missing amongst the yearbooks of the time, has actually come out. The leaflet where his name was has actually come out. So this is what he said. He said, President Bola Tinubu's study at CSU, a 4-year state-funded historically black university, was shortened because he transferred 2 years worth of college credit from Richard J. Daly College, a community college equivalent to a diploma awarding institution in Nigeria, in Chicago, which started life as William J. Bogan Junior College in 1960, and the university actually got renamed Southwest College in 1970, got renamed yet again as Richard J. Daly College in 1976. He went further to say that Tinubu graduated from CSU has never been in dispute. It was his claim to have attended or graduated from the elite, highly ranked, privately owned University of Chicago that was a lie. But he later took back this claim and blamed it on an unintentional error by Senator Tokunbo Afikuyomi. Now, in June 2022, when fresh, widely shared and obviously politically inspired doubts were raised about the authenticity of Tinubu's graduation from CSU, he said he took advantage of being a professor there in the US and reached out to friends and colleagues at the school to help verify this information about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu indeed attending that particular institution. But the question that actually bogs the mind of a lot of Nigerians was, if indeed he attended this institution, then what exactly, why was it something that seemed to be hidden? In fact, there was a statement that was made to the institution not to release his records because the bloggers, the Nigerian bloggers, were intending to use it to tarnish his image. These were questions that Nigerians were asking. Why are you not making the certificate available? Why can't we have access to it? He is the president. Everything about him should be in the public sphere because he is indeed serving the people, and that was what generated this conversation. And the reason why I'm talking about it is that the NBA president actually made a statement by saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the authenticated president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because the cases is still at the Election Petition Tribunal in dispute, but until then he is the authentic winner of February 25 election. And then a lot of Nigerians are asking, should the NBA be making that assertion now? Has the NBA been bought? Have they been bribed? Have they dined and now are not being truthful or transparent? These are the questions that were being asked. And I actually have Barrister Evans Ufeli right here with me in the studio. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Barrister Evans Ufeli actually attended the NBA conference, is going to give us first-hand information of the conversations that was had and how the issues there were discussed and sorted out. I also have Barrister Joe Nwokedi. Barrister Joe Nwokedi, good evening and welcome to the Political Spotlight.
It's my pleasure. Viewers, I greet all of you.
Yes, you know Barrister Joe Nwokedi always attends, actually is part of the Political Spotlight here every Sunday evening. We get to trash out most of these issues in national polity. And of course, Mr. Elvis Elimehele, who is a political analyst, a social affairs commentator. Mr. Elvis is also a journalist. Good evening, Mr. Elvis, and welcome to the Political Spotlight.
Good evening, Esther. And good
Thank
evening,
you.
listeners.
Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen. I know it rained today, but thank you for taking your time to be part of the conversation this evening. Barrister Evans Ufeli, I'm going to start off with you. What is the crux at the NBA? What happened? When did the NBA dissolve to what it is now?
Well, there were a lot of issues that happened during the conference.
Okay.
One of which was that the controversy among the ESCOs of the NBA, led by Yakubu Macau SN, before the AGM, that's the annual general meeting of the Nigerian Bar Association, which took place on Thursday last week. There were allegations on certain publications that the NBA president was practicing what they call exclusivism.
Okay.
Exclusivism would mean that he wasn't carrying along, he wasn't carrying the ESCOs along in most of his dealings and transactions in the NBA. That was the allegation.
Okay.
They went further to say that the second vice, the third vice, there were allegations that by the constitution of the NBA, there are some branches of the NBA that's under their purview where they have to visit and make what they call familiarization visits.
Okay.
According to the laws of the association. That one of them had applied for funds to go, but that the president did not release it. The president, in reaction to that, said, they said second vice had already gone and returned. He got the information.
Second vice had gone and returned.
Yeah, before the application was made for funds to go.
Okay.
There. Now, if you look at it carefully, the allegations against him were never of corruption.
Okay.
They were the fact that he was not carrying them along, that most of the times he's called by the president, he's invited to the National Assembly, he's called by a minister, because the position of the NBA president is very, as an NBA president, let me just reveal this to some of the public. As an NBA president, you're actually bigger than a minister. Some people don't know. In terms of the activities and inclusion, the Nigerian government takes the president's travel, president of the country travel with the NBA president. The country will not do anything without, especially when it borders on law, without that on general of the federation and the Nigerian Bar Association. They do a lot in that. So it is expected that lawyers should, because the society reposes a lot of confidence in us.
Okay.
And as such, they expect us to live above boards. Why that is not a bad thing, the NBA find itself in a closed door, a position where there were allegations and counter allegations.
Okay. Now,
the NBA president responded, and his response was that the current ESCO wanted him to deplete and fritter away the processing fee contributed by lawyers in Nigeria, and that he's not going to give a leeway to that effect. Now, in one of the occasions, some of them who applied to go for the international bar, the incoming international bar, that they inflicted the figures submitted to him, and he's not going to pay.
Okay.
That he was elected by the members of the NBA, by lawyers, and he's so grateful to lawyers that the only way he can pay back lawyers is to ensure that he's frugal, he's not profligate,
okay,
and is able to manage the funds of lawyer according to statutory provisions of law. He made that statement. He made statement of the fact that he was using his money to pilot some of the affairs of the NBA.
All right.
And the rest of it. Now, if you look at it carefully, you find out that the truth is that the NBA president, no matter the controversy within the stratosphere, it is his duty to lead the bar and leave it stronger than he met it.
Okay.
That's his responsibility. Now, if you have used your money to pilot the affairs of the NBA, and you have done a lot, according to you, even though we didn't see receipt to that effect, that is fine. But it is not right to create an atmosphere of sentimentalism or playing to the gallery. Playing to the gallery, I mean that those members whom you accuse of planning to fritter the funds of the NBA, right or wrongly, is neither here nor there, because the truth is that the prices of airfare tickets, hotels, and all that are in public domain. So if they bring over-bloated or inflated expenses, it's for you to cross-check and shrink it to what is possible within the context of the activity, and then ensure that the treasurer gets a copy of each of the check you sign, so that she can, because it was embarrassing when she was called to, the treasurer was called to endorse her signature on the expense, some of the expenses, and she declined in public that she cannot do that because she's not privy to most of the transaction.
Okay.
I do not want to lay blame on the NBA president or the ESCO or the allegations or the counter allegations. At the end of the day, it is the duty of the NBA president to make the NBA work and leave it a stronger bar than he met it. It is not, you see, leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership, and on easy lies the head that wears the crown. If you are under pressure to do what is wrong, make sure that you have accountability. You do things based on what is possible, and that is what I found missing. Akpata, the former NBA president, had this same issue. There's this Joyce that was in the ESCO that held Akpata to the jugular. Akpata could not breathe, literally. But you know, immediately after the NBA conference, Akpata was able to bring everybody together, had an indoor meeting, resolve the issue with Joyce, such that they are best of friends today. There's a way to go about issues. It's not enough to tell the public that they want me to finish your money, they want me to do it. At the end of the day, when you get into the house, it's like a man that comes to the public to accuse the wife of war, whatever. When night falls, you are going to go back to that house. You have not solved the problem by telling the public, or I'm not saying it's not right to tell the public, it's okay, we are all stakeholders. But much more than telling the public of what is going on internally. Now we know the problem. Go back home as the head of the home and then resolve the problem. That's what makes you a leader, and that's what I think he should do.
All right. I want to play something because some of your members were so expressive at the NBA. They were especially at Bielsa and Port Harcourt. They were talking about the oil-rich states and the state of poverty and penury that indigents in the oil-rich state are currently experiencing. I think they had to address it. I want us to take a listen to that. Then, Barrister Joe, you will definitely help me explain some certain things that, you know, is going on within the judicial system and the basic conversations that was had, you know, at the NBA conference, because it got a lot of Nigerians worried when they saw how the vituperation went. So let's take a listen to this.
Oil bunkering and the rest, the government is very, very active. But we don't see them, we don't see corresponding activeness on the issue of illegal mining that is happening in Zamfara and other places, depriving Nigeria of the needed revenue for development. When we come to fora like this, that issue is not raised. What is really happening in Nigeria? Thank you.
I am from part of Benin, where there are many oil flow stations. I believe you me, we don't even have a drinking water. Not to talk of a secondary school. I schooled in Benue State, Tilegato College. I am one of the pioneers students. My father was a fisherman in Benue River. And that's why I was opportune to school in Benue State, Tilegato College, in 1974. And now, the last discourser said, they are uncountable security agencies in the river area to check bunkering. Good enough. Good enough. What a jolly fellow you are. Good enough. That is good. You are going all of our boys.
So those were the members of the Nigerian Bar Association, and they were expressing how they felt, their disgruntled, and the fact that the government has actually left a lot of people, the areas that they were meant to develop and concentrate are underdeveloped, and they still kept, you know, taking the resources in that region. Barrister Joe Wokedi, I want to hear from you.
It is a very, very pathetic situation. But the problem I have, I'm so sorry to say this, with the oil-rich states in Nigeria, is that in most cases, I was actually a child. I've actually kept on hearing that maybe like the developing oil-rich states in Nigeria, and they've never had water to drink. They've never have places to take care of agricultural products and other things. But I also have seen so many attempts made by governments in creating some agencies like NNDC, like PMPA, so many things that have actually, so many foundations and so many things have actually been established. And most of them have been either headed by people from the area or money have actually been earmarked and given to people from the area. I also ask myself, what are they doing with the money? And they also have state governments, and I know that they receive revenue in excess of what other states, other non-oil producing states receive. To the extent that some states were receiving 4 billion in revenue, whereas Delta State were receiving 16 billion. Akwa was receiving almost 19 billion. Some states were receiving 4 billion. And look at their land mass and population, we're wondering what is going on. Because I used to wonder, how can some states be receiving 4 billion and they are good? They're okay. They're doing well. And some states are receiving 16 billion. And then they are having issues. Sometimes ask me, who is to be blamed? I'm sorry I'm sounding this way. Because sometimes when you keep on blaming a system, sometimes you have to look at yourself, conduct an introspection. Where are we actually having this problem? Because right from my childhood, I said I've been hearing this issue of Niger Delta having issues. To be honest with you, does that mean they've not actually have a way to find a way to resolve that crisis? Look at the NDC that was formed. You see, Bobungo's corruption that took place there, and then membership were populated by people from the same area too. There's no time they begin to even ask their governors questions, because even the excess, there was one that Wike actually said there was money that I think Buhari released to oil producing state. It was only Rivers State that was able to account what they use that money to do. Other states in that region made away with the money, and they have this a kind of system that they have all these mini militants and laws that when monies are given to them, they hijack the money, share the money individually without engaging in collective development and collective success. Why not trying to holistically exonerate the state government from the whole occurrence? We also ask myself, all the billions that, especially money they receive as allocation revenue, do you know states in Niger Delta receive more money than Lagos? As at the time Lagos was receiving 9 billion, some states in Niger Delta they're receiving 16 billion. 13 billion.
So to buttress your point, you're insisting that
we begin to channel our grievances at different places. One of the major problems we have in Nigeria, that every activism targets federal government. We don't usually ask our state government questions. We don't usually ask our local government chairman questions. We don't usually ask agencies. Rather, we will go to all those agencies to go and collect money for bribe, collect money that we are not going to return, collect money, enrich ourselves personally, individually, and go back to federal government and begin to blame them again. So at this current kind of system in Nigeria now, or the generation that we are in, people will begin to spread their nets. As regards people, they will begin to ask for accountability. And government also should do more. But I'm saying that since time of Obasanjo, I heard about that. Yaradua meant all these things, came up with that. Jonathan, that was president for 6 years from Niger Delta, Bayelsa, we still had issue of that. Then up to Buhari and even this Tinubu. So now, is there no way they have fashioned a workable kind of strategy that will enable that issue to be resolved? Because how can you look at the one that was just saying she schooled in Benue. Benue is not oil producing states, and you have your secondary school there. But even if you have oil spillage or pillage or whatever, they have engaged all these multinationals, and some of them are giving them something. Like Shell, like Chevron, and some of them in the host communities, they still give something. And I've seen cases that put to them because they couldn't give enough, but they get something. So it will be a matter of more accountability and more responsibility for those that they give this money to, and also come up with something that will enable them to find a way to implement policies that will totally curb and cure the menace of poverty in their area. So at the end of the day, this issue will not be like a recurring phenomenon over the years. Because we have had somebody from Niger Delta that was the president of Nigeria for 6 good years. So does it mean that at the time he was president for 6 years, he was not able to do something for his own people, or did the money enter into the wrong hands? Like Ababio that was made the Senate president had bogus corruption issue moment he was made the chairman of is it minister or whatever, an NNDC. Even the other, what's that her name? What's that that lady there? What's that they were making noise on social media? Onochie was also made her own. She was engrossed in so many controversy again with corruption. And she's from Delta State, also Niger oil producing area. So must we always, I mean, we should begin to look at all this critically and with a kind of detribalized or disabused mind. So I was able to get to know where the actual problem lies.
All right, I want to ask you this, please. It's quite important. So I want to ask you, for example, the situation at the tribunal. There is still the tribunal having to tell us, based on all the evidences tendered by the opposition, those who are challenging the victory of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if indeed he won the elections. Now, the NBA has made a statement, and that they said it was wrong for the president to be referred to as an illegal president, since no court has set aside his declaration by INEC. The body of lawyers at the NBA submitted that as of today there is only one president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces in the person of President Bola Tinubu. It was Yakubu Mekel who made the assertion at a public presentation of the communique which was issued at the 63rd Annual General Conference, and he made this statement while he was fielding questions from journalists and dismissing insinuations by some lawyers that Tinubu remains an illegal and unconditional president by virtue of the election petitions challenging his legitimacy. Now, based on the law, would you say the statement Mekel made is right? There are a couple of lawyers right here who have had conversations who have referred to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a placeholder because the judges at the election petition tribunal are yet to decide who indeed won the February 25 elections.
From the purview of law, the statement is made is 100% okay.
Okay.
There's no sentimental attachment to that. For now, Tinubu is seen as a joint president. On the contrary, is proved.
Okay.
Whatever he does at this point is seen as valid, because there is no other person known as Nigerian president. Even though there are so many challenges, there are so many illegalities, there are so many things, but no court of competent jurisdiction, no court of law has come up to say that look at what the position is, that these things are null and void, of no effect, or you didn't meet the basic constitutional requirement. They might be there, but for fact they will not have any pronouncement in that effect from any court of law. He is the president. But such a statement is not supposed to come from the mouth of NBA president.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Mr. Hold on. I want to ask you, are you sure? He made a statement that statement is not meant to come from the NBA president. Are you of that same purview?
Yeah, he was being asked question by the
journalist.
Right?
Okay.
So I believe he spoke for himself. I don't think it was an NBA
agreement
resolution.
Okay.
I think he spoke as a citizen of the country.
So you're saying that he did not respond as a lawyer, but he responded as an individual on his perception.
No, he did not respond like a lawyer. I mean, it's clear now that there's a presumption of regularity in every election.
Okay.
How be it that you've had controversy and now they're in court. That presumption subsists until it is overturned by evidence. Okay, but for now, he's the president. He's saying it in his own capacity. And I do not think that statement is supposed to come from a particular person, whether NBA president or whoever president. It is what it is for now until the issues of law are resolved and the options of appeal are completely extinguished.
Okay.
That is when we will now know whether or not the court will take a decision on it.
All right.
Whatever anybody says now is just a personal.
Okay. So, Barrister Joe Mokedi, apparently it seems to be in the same purview.
Yes, what I'm just saying is that NBA ought to be a very, very neutral and independent body. It's not like a body to be seen, going to bed with person of the president.
Okay.
It's a body that when, they sneeze, the president catches cold. So the NBA president will have not allowed Kala, Sabakoba, even governor of those states, Akeredolu, when they were presidents, they have a courage. They stand with what will not make you to know where they are, just like the person of Femi Falana. You can't say Falana is here or Falana is there. Falana created an atmosphere that will make Falana to be anywhere. If he speaks his mind, he might be with you today, he might be against you tomorrow. He speaks what the law is, he speaks what his mind is.
Okay.
NBA president is not supposed to be a person that will be predicted. It's not to be a person that the president of a nation will be comfortable with. Especially in Africa, because you know what African presidents can do.
Right.
They want to mop up, model, to humiliate, embarrass, manipulate, and seize every individual, every organization, subdue them, suppress them. And that's how they build up anarchy, build up patriotism in governance, build up all kind of things that they do. So the person of the president is supposed to assume that position of checks and balances, within that organization. In such a way, he will create an atmosphere that make him to still say something against the president tomorrow. But the way we are seeing Mikiao, that was even part of why some members of the SQL are not quite comfortable with his style of leadership. You are hobnobbing so much with the president. You are so much at peace. The other day you are on channel speaking on behalf of things that are not asked about the Rwanda election. You get to criticize the EU and all. I mean, are you an errand boy of the president? For goodness sake, when you be a president, your carriage, your attitude, everything you have supposed to reflect that supremacy, that authority, that learned people, that body that people fear so much. You don't go and say certain things that make you as if you're a stooge, or if you have been bought over, if you are not like a handbag carrying individual for the president. President should hear your voice and panic. So when you talk on behalf of Nigerian lawyers, on behalf of Nigerians, even ordinary lawyers will speak and people will shiver, let alone NBA president. They're not supposed to be hard here and there the way he talks up and down. That's not supposed to be done. He's supposed to maintain a position that will make the president to be afraid of NBA, because he's represents the totality of the whole lawyers in Nigeria. Just like what he said during the time of DSS arrest with issue with Nigerian correctional services under MFL. He said both of them were like engaged in scuffle, and people are very, very angry. Why can't you condemn what DSS did? He's been too diplomatic. He's been too calm. He's been too feel good. Well, he wants to feel good to everybody, and that's not the percentage we are looking at next election. We want the NBA president that will rule, and we're not saying you should confront the president or embarrass the president or fight the president. Let that be a word that make you to assume that position of neutrality. Okay. So when you talk, the public will say, because people also repose trust and confidence in NBA. When there is national issue, they want to know what NBA will come up to say. So for him to now, NBA that's like almost the hotbed of the president is now going to bed. The current NBA leadership is now in the same bed, no longer the hotbed of the president, but now in the bed with the president. And allegations they raise, concerning not carrying people along. We have also been in leadership positions. You can't just, there are certain things that are done through the principles and procedures that establish that organization, the guidelines, the rules. Okay. If somebody wants to inflate a contract, like my learned friend here rightly said, you can't begin to tell the public they want to inflate a contract, they want to inflate their etiquette. Your duty as a president is to vet those things and approve them. And they can't say because of that you don't want to approve what they ought to do within the law, because you want to save money. Yes, lawyers paid money for their annual dues. Those monies are to be used to do the work for NBA. So whatever that falls within the provisions of job to be done by the ESCO, whether the face, whether the treasurer, whether the secretary, whether the president, you have to approve that money for them to do it. You don't say that you are using your personal money to run the NBA. What kind of plane to the gallery is that? We didn't let you to use your money. We're letting you to use our own money and use our money judiciously.
Thank you very much. Mr. Elvis Elimhela, this question is for you. The reason why we're having this conversation is that you recall over 3 weeks, all eyes on the Judiciary rank court across the lips, across social media, anywhere you visited, everyone was talking about it, especially when the advertising regulatory body said that particular advert should be brought down, that it breached public peace and it could incite violence. When that happened, this NBA conference was meant to look at exactly how has it become that the Nigerians no longer trust the judiciary, or whatever statement, judgment, conclusion that comes from the judiciary, they no longer trust it. And so all eyes on the judiciary was a clarion call on the judiciary to be mindful and be careful of any form of inducement on them, but to objectively make conclusions at the Election Petition Tribunal. And which brings to the fore again, what is at the center of this? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, the president, as an individual, is another entity. As a public servant of Nigerians, one would say he would always be on the lips of Nigerians. And you being the number one citizen of the country, definitely Nigerians will always want to know everything about you. So which begs the question, why did Nigerians flood CSU? Why did they flood their LinkedIn X account, Facebook account, verifying, asking questions? A couple of critics have said some Nigerians were becoming clownish, some Nigerians were becoming aggressive, and they were not putting the country in good light. Meanwhile, a particular union, tried to characterize President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 100 days in office, and this is the Eastern Union. They gave the scorecard 0. They said 0 performance. So this is what the group said. A pro-good governance union in Nigeria described his kind of leadership as clannish and nepotic. EU's national president Charles Aneke told the Whistler, which is this paper, that Tinubu has done nothing worth celebrating so far than celebrating the occupation at the Aso Rock Villa. I do not really want to use some certain words that were used because it's important for us to remain as objective as possible. So he said on the composition of the president's cabinet, he said there is no difference between this government and that of former President Muhammadu Buhari. What's your take on this?
Thank you so much, Esther. We are talking about the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and is the first citizen of this nation. Having been given that right to become the first citizen of this nation, whether he came through the back door or he came through the excellent door or whatever, for now he is the president of this nation. And for Nigerians that want to know their president and know him in total, they have not made any mistake.
Okay.
I am here in this studio. You only mentioned my name to the public. By the time, and many of them don't even know me, but tomorrow if I want to become president of Nigeria, or I want to even become the governor of my state, it is left for my state or Nigerians to know who this Mr. Elvis is. They are not wrong. We are coming to rule over these people. They must know where you are coming from. They must know what you have done before you got to that position that you now said you want to become president. They must know whether you have some baggages you are carrying that needed to be trashed out. So sometimes when Nigerians are saying we want to know our president, Nigerians are not wrong, because you have offered yourself to become a public figure. The day you left your bedroom and say you want to be in the bedroom of Nigerians, Nigerians must know your performance both in the bedroom and outside the bedroom. So flooding the internet or whatever to know about their president, there is no offense about it as far as I'm concerned. Even the international world do it better. Sometimes they begin to analyze their president aspirants, even when they are still aspirants. They do a lot of debates. They have already they are already starting in America now debates. They want to know, even to the extent the number of wives, why did you divorce, what led to it, and then you have children, how are your children faring, we are aware that some of your children are drug addicts and all this. They do all these things because they want to have the confidence on the person they have as president. So I don't think there's anything wrong in that at all. They're coming to the performance of the president for these 100 days in office. Esther, I don't think I will have to be too far from the statement that came from that
the union. Because why? It says 0 performance. Well, I remember. I think the last time we had this conversation, I asked you. I said it's not abnormal for the president to surround himself with persons from possibly his ethnic group. You would want to surround yourself in your cabinet with persons you think you can trust. Former President Muhammadu Buhari obviously did the same. Could this be because the Easterners weren't given enough portfolios? Could this be why they scored the president a 0 performance?
Esther, let us not even bring in ethnicity into this matter.
That's what basically the group is alleging. They're saying that his administration, they described it as clannish and nepotic. And then we asked the presidential spokesperson, Ajuri Ngolali, made reference to comments like this. He said he would refute comments like that the president's appointments and portfolios were based on evidences that these individuals would deliver, based on portfolio experiences, and regardless of whatever ethnic group they come from, that should not be the crux. What should be the crux is if these individuals can deliver. So do you think, based on the combination or the composition rather of his cabinet, that this is coming from a stance kind of lesser representation, than the prevalent ethnic group that composes his cabinet?
Well, as far as ethnic group is concerned, we try to see some kind of balance. Even though the southeast is not actually measuring, the balance is not actually favoring the southeast as expected. But if we want to start looking at the individuals and the policies that this government has taken for these 100 days, one we begin to wonder: is this government actually aware of what Nigerians are going through? Is this government actually aware that Nigerians have gone poorer within these 100 days than they were before he came into office? These are antecedents. These are things we should be setting goals for the government. It's not where the ministers are coming from or who are the ministers. Already we know that in the announcement of the minister, nomination of the minister, and the swearing and all other, clearing them and all, we saw a lot of drama. There were really nothing different from what we've been saying before. Now they brought in so many of the state governors into his administration to make them ministers. To me, I don't see the relevance of some of those state governors, especially Zamfara State. Today, you know that you and Nigerians cannot even travel to Zamfara State. Nigerians are, you heard what happened last time. Coppers that were going to use to the orientation camp, they were kidnapped at that Aziz. I don't even know whether they've been released now. The last I heard about it, that they said each of them, about 8 of them, they should be 4 million. They should bring in ransom of 4 million before they release them. I don't know what qualifies Matawale, the former governor of Zamfara State, to be made a minister of state for defense. I don't know. That is number one. Then number two, you come to look at, today the government make one announcement, tomorrow they now come back and tell Nigerians that they are correcting it. Is it that they've not done their homework, so nicely before they got into power? At this stage we are, because we are coming from a very bad system, decayed Nigeria, from the government of former President Muhammadu Buhari. So further coming to use the present administration as test any longer will further impoverish Nigeria. We are not looking at that. We thought that as he came into power May 29, he knew where the shoe is pinching this nation, the citizens of this nation, and he knows exactly what to do. But we have been saying that they make one statement today, they withdraw it, they bring up another one again.
Almost like a trial and error. Let's see how this works.
This is not, Nigerians don't have that patience for trial and error, because Buhari's 8 years was used as a lot of trial and error, and it plunged Nigeria into where we are today,
creating that distrust,
a lot of distrust. So Nigerians are not talking about nepotism, surrounding yourself with your kinsmen. Buhari did it and he failed woefully.
But you know, in Buhari's disposition, he did not care. President Buhari did not show that disposition of caring whatever anybody thought about what he was doing. He did what he wanted to do up until the last day, making appointments on the last day itself. So some persons will say, if President Buhari was allowed to do what he wanted to do as he saw fit, why would the president also, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
no. Esther, we don't want a repetition of what Buhari did.
Failure.
If that Buhari's 8 years in Nigeria is a monumental failure. By the time we want a drastic shift, a drastic change from what we experienced from 2015 to 2023 when Buhari finally left office.
So you're saying that from when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn into office, we have not seen that drastic change?
We have not seen it. He
promised it on his inauguration. He promised it at his campaign. He said he was going to let Nigerians breathe. He was going to ensure that the naira to the dollar becomes at least stable. But we're not seeing that. So do you think that his policies, now that the cabinet has been composed and he's telling Nigerians to be patient to see how things go, are Nigerians being impatient? Former President Muhammadu Buhari took apparently 6 months before he set up his cabinet, and Nigerians seem to have been patient along with him. Do you think that Nigerians are expecting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to whip up a magic wand and make everything all right?
There is nothing like being magic wand. Nigerians are expecting. Nigerians are expecting a drastic movement into where we are coming from. Remember why Nigerians are agitating that we need this drastic change. When you stay too long in the bed stays too long in its net, it will have issues. Somebody will remember that there's a bed there and release the catapult at it. That's what we are saying. Nigerians have to bear with Buhari for 8 years. Nigerians don't have that patient any longer. And again, Nigerians are already talking about. You hear this now. APC are saying that Nigerians 8 years of Buhari's administration of the economy was so bad. Even businesses are saying it now. This is not another political party. They are no longer talking about PDP 16 years now. They are talking about 8 years of Buhari's administration was so bad. At least I've heard from my state former state governor and Adam Soshomele. He has said it to the public that Nigeria's economy from Buhari's administration was bad. So what are they now doing to ameliorate it? Do you think Nigerians still have that patience to stay the same way they stayed with Buhari and at the end of the day nothing came out of it? We don't have any patience again. That's why you are saying that there's a kind of pressure mounting on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that we don't want to go back to where we are coming from, or we don't even want to remain on that same track that we've been for 8 years. We want a paradigm shift. We want to see Nigeria moving. We want to see Nigeria working. We want to see that Nigeria will not begin to see one policy release today. Tomorrow you are withdrawing it and coming to trying to sugarcoat it, and because you have some spokesmen who are good at using different sentences to qualify some certain issues. That's not what we want to see things happening. I was reading a piece in one of the Nigerian national newspapers yesterday, Daily Guardian, Guardian newspaper. I was saying Nigerians are talking about school is resuming tomorrow. Some states, Lagos is resuming tomorrow. Then some other states are resuming next week. Nigerian parents are saying that some of their children may not be able to go back to school. This is a result of some of the policies that we have seen within these 100 days. If Buhari's administration, held us so badly, we're so tight-fisted down. Then we wanted at least a release from this government so that things can move. We saw increase in petroleum prices now. Nigerians can no longer go to work as expected. We saw naira and dollar. Is it working? The floating of naira and dollar, is it working? 900 and something naira to a dollar. Is it working? Then we are saying so many of these things. If school resumes tomorrow, Nigerian parents, children are at home. Do you know what that means? 20 million Nigerian children are already on the street, not going to school. Additional are going to be added to it. Is that what Nigerians are looking for? So when Nigerians are talking about that we don't want to start experiencing the norms that we had in Buhari's regime, we need a drastic change. Nigerians are not impatient. It is the right of Nigerians.
Barrister Evans, because this next question, we have a lot to talk about, and we also need to hear from our listeners. You can actually watch us on YouTube at Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just go to your YouTube search bar, type VOP 90.3 FM, and virtually be part of the conversation. You can actually send us your WhatsApp message on 0700 903 9039. 0700 903 9039. Begin to send in your WhatsApp messages. We'll definitely open the phone lines very soon. Barrister Evans, while President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was given the chair, as he became the chair of ECOWAS, the first responsibility that came on his table was the junta takeover in Niger.
Yes.
It wasn't up to a month while they're still trying to decide what to do, how to set up a formation to either, return democracy in Niger. We saw what transpired in Gabon. Now, Gabon has become the 8th African country to come under military rule in the 21st century, and some of the army officers announced the taking over of power on Wednesday morning. The development followed the announcement of the outcome of Saturday's election, where President Ali Bongo was announced the winner of the poll for the third term. Bongo's family has been ruling the country for 53 years. He took over from his father after he spent 40 years ruling the country. I want us to take a listen to the military junta while they took over power, and then giving the reason why they actually made the announcement. And of course, I will also play to you where Ali Bongo was asking that, people should make noise that he doesn't know what is happening out there.
Gouvernance irresponsable.
After noting an irresponsible, unpredictable governance which results in a continuous deterioration of social cohesion that risks leading the country to chaos, today, the 30th of August 2023, in the name of the Gabonese people, we, the Committee of the Transition and the Restoration of Institutions, have decided to defend the peace, putting an end to the regime in place. To this end, the general elections of August 26, 2023, as well as the results, are cancelled. The borders of the country are closed until further notice. All the institutions of the Republic are dissolved. The government, the Senate, the National Assembly, the Constitutional Court. We call on the population for calm and serenity, and we affirm our attachment to the respect of Gabon's commitments to the international community.
So that was the military junta taking over power. Now you recall that the elections in Gabon were quite disputed. Election materials did not arrive in major polling units on time. Barrister Evans, that's one. There was also an internet blackout. They didn't have access to the internet. The Gabon electoral body said that they did not want any international inducement. In fact, it basically just said they were avoiding any risk of anybody making any statement that could jeopardize the elections, are what they used. Also, the opposition, where the opposition, had their own polling units set up, elections in some of those areas did not take place. It took almost about 48 hours before the election results were announced, and then when it was announced, it happened way early in the morning. And so Nigerians, when they heard about what transpired in Gabon, the first thing they did was, it was precisely how elections took place here. The president was announced as a president early in the morning. A couple of persons made reference to the Bible quote where they said, when God will come as a thief in the night. This was the reference. But the question now is the responsibility this has on the African Union. The ECOWAS chair, who is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's responsibility now with having to cope with the military junta, although Gabon is Central Africa. But look at what is going on in the Sahel, and it all has to do with the type of governance that they run. Now, critics have come in to say that the West may have a strong influence with what is currently going on. How do you think what is currently happening in some of these countries close to Nigeria would affect our democracy?
Well, I have listened to a lot of persons who said there's a Western influence in this whole thing, and I choose to say that if there is a Western influence, I don't think it's the immediate cause. That might be the remote cause, because if you look at military takeover in the African space, starting from Togo, where it started from, for the first time in Africa, down to Gabon, where we have the recent takeover, which is not actually under the purview of ECOWAS, because it's not West Africa. You will now see that if you look at the speech of the military before taking over, it has to do with civilian rascality, civilian inability to manage a system to deliver the dividend of democracy to the people. In Gabon, they literally shut down the citizens' right to communication by taking down the internet with that excuse that they don't want any Western influence.
That's true.
That is an indictment on the electoral body and the government. They made sure that the opposition did not see the light of the day, similar to what happened here in Nigeria. They announced the winner at the wee hours of the morning, like a civilian coup itself, which has now been toppled by a military coup. Across Africa, even in African countries where military had not taken over, the civilian government are also ruling like the military in Africa. So there is no country that is highly dominated by black, check all over the world, blacks, that is making any progress in 2023. That is making any progress. Check, go through, check around. So the question now is, as long as democracy seems not to be working in Africa, is military junta the solution? No. Military junta, like their civilian counterpart, cannot transform anywhere.
All right.
They have not done it before. They cannot do it now. They will not be able to do it. Because first, it's a government that sits on illegality. It's a government that is an incursion into the natural workings of things in a democratic pattern. It's not a government that can stand the test of time, because they get into office, they suspend the constitution, they begin to rule the people, they begin to create more problem for the country than the country had before. In Nigeria, there's no military takeover in Nigeria as we speak. But is Nigeria making progress? The president's 100 days in office. a thoughtless president managing 200 million people is a disaster any day, anytime.
You're saying any president who doesn't think properly. You're not referring to President Tinubu here.
I'm not referring to the president.
Well, you are referring to President Tinubu as a thoughtless president.
He's thoughtless.
Would you say that is too harsh?
Harsh how? I mean, we have seen how he has managed the country in 100 days.
The president said he should give him time. The president said he has set up palliatives. The president said he has an economic strategic team that has policies to drive Nigeria in the right direction. The president said he understands the pains of the people. The president brought in monies and palliatives to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. And Ajuri Ngulalu, speaking on behalf of his principal, has made statements that the president thinks and clearly understands the trajectory or the tragedy that a lot of Nigerians are going through. Would you refer to that president as a thoughtless person?
Esther, in the corporate world, there's what we call strategic foresighting.
All right.
Any leader that lacks strategic foresighting cannot lead in the 21st century.
So you're saying President Tinubu does not have the foresight?
It doesn't have it. It doesn't have it. Look at the way he took away subsidy. Okay, forgetting that government must contribute to the lives of citizens all over the world. There is subsidy all over the world. If it's not on fuel, it's on food. If it's not on food, it's on agricultural produce, on fertilizer, it's something. If it's not in all that, government buys off everything that a farmer produces. There must be subsidy. It means that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Section 14, sub 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. That is what a president should do. Now, they took up the subsidy, and I remember that they have to provide palliative. Palliative, okay, we'll give 12 million citizens 8,000 naira per month. Turn around and say, no, it won't work again. Carry the money and give to governors. Governors that have shown you repeatedly that they are unreliable, that the ecological funds, they cannot account for it, that their security votes, they cannot account for it, that the derivation funds, they cannot account for anything, and then you give them palliative to hold in trust for the people. How do you call a president that have strategic foresight will make such kind of mistake in this? Look, we are in for some bigger, because the president, inherited a president that is just like him.
Okay.
And he told the public that he's going to continue from where the previous left it off. And he has proven it within 100 years, that 100 days, that he's truly an ambassador and a representative of the government before this. And what he has done is to ensure, the previous government actually removed the subsidy we are talking about. He only came to announce it as a forerunner, just like John the Baptist did when Jesus was to be baptized. He announced it, and the whole country went agog. Right now, schools are resuming tomorrow. The excitement is not there. Okay, even before they left off, some persons could not afford to give transport to their children to move to school. What is the palliative for the Nigerian child who is in school, who should learn, who must go to school? What is the palliative for the displaced, those in the IDP camps? What is this government program for the Nigerian students in the universities, for those who are unemployed, about 55% of them? What is the policy of this government on agriculture? What is the policy of this government on the future, on the currency of this country, on developing Nigeria, on taking Nigeria to the global space to compete effectively with other countries? What are the policies of this government? This government have no policy. All they do is just to come around and tell you palliative. From palliative, they jump to floating in naira. From floating in naira, they jump to... They're just talking anyhow. No plan, no structure, no thinking, thoughtlessness.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Evans. I want to play where the deposed president of Gabon was actually asking people to rally around and make noise. I want to take listen to that.
I'm Ali Bongo Ondimba, president of Gabon, and I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise, For the people here have arrested me and my family. My son is somewhere, my wife is in another place, and I'm at the residence. Right now, I'm at the residence, and nothing happening. Nothing is happening. I don't know what's going on. So I'm calling you to make noise, really. I'm thanking you.
We're obviously making noise here. We're actually talking about it. Maybe it was under duress, because I'm sure one of the military guys, apparently it's actually quite funny because it brought up a lot of conspiracy theories. The person who took over the military junta, that's the leader of the military junta in Gabon, is a cousin of Ali Bongo. It's actually quite funny how. And this particular cousin himself is so rich, has a lot of property, has a lot of money in the United States of America. And this brings us to another question. When this situation transpired in Gabon, a couple of African nations, that have actually been there, where their leaders have been in charge for so long, began to reshuffle their cabinet. We had the Rwandan president doing the same thing, even the one in Senegal, to retiring a lot of his military generals and putting his cabinet together. So Nigerians were talking about the fact that rather than these people having to work on their system of governance, reshuffle their governance, what they're trying to do is seeing what they can use to protect themselves. Now, apparently, about 2 days ago, something deadly actually took place in Congo, where about 40 persons died and dozens were injured because the protesters from a religious sect gathered in the Congolese city of Goma. And the communications ministry said violence related to planned protests led to 43 deaths and 56 injured, raising the preliminary death toll of 7 announced by the army on Wednesday. Now, the army announced that it was 7 persons that died. Fortunately, or rather unfortunately for them, videos of how the shootings took place came up. First of all, the protesters were talking to the army members while they were there, actually trying to explain themselves. And the next thing, we saw gunshots. We saw 2 trucks carrying dead bodies, full of dead bodies, young boys, basically young men. And some people were in their homes, filming this, videoing this. And then this came up on Twitter. Later, the army now changed and said it is 47 persons. But from that video, you can tell they had about almost 100 persons who died. Now, when Nigerians saw this, we refer them to what transpired in October 2020, what transpired at the Lekki toll gates when the army came there and shot, and the army said they didn't kill anybody, they didn't shoot anybody, and all of that stuff. So the question, it begs the question, what is going on in these African countries, and what kind of democracy do we say we are practicing? Are we practicing a system of democracy that is democratic, autocratic, or are we saying our democracy is meant to be as it's supposed to be? What lesson should the president actually learn from what is going on in the Sahel?
Esther, thank you so much. We don't have democracy in Africa. Let's not deceive ourselves. Democracy itself is a very good system of government, but the practitioners of democracy, especially in Africa, they have not actually accepted the tenet of democracy. Democracy, according to Lincoln, said it is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The day you take out people from democracy, it is no longer democracy. But let me tell you, Esther, African leaders have never allowed people who owns the democracy to be part of democracy in Africa. That's what you are seeing that is playing out. That's why you see that in a democratic government, military will be released to kill people. And even after they've killed the citizens that are supposed to be beneficiaries of democracy, they will cover it up. You know that the issue of Nigeria is still ongoing. Sometime early this year we heard that some money was released to go and bury the victim that died during the NSAS protest at the Lekki toll gate. Nigerians were like, but you said people didn't die. But now you are saying you are releasing so much money to go and bury people that died. They came up and said they started picking corpses all around. It was not as if it happened in Lekki toll gate. But the corpses you picked, who are they? Are they not Nigerians? Are they not the people that are supposed to own the democracy? which we say democracy is the government of the people. So what is playing out in Africa is not democracy. It is just that African leaders are so selfish. They've so hijacked democracy to favor themselves, to enrich themselves. That's what is happening. Imagine, you just made mention of some countries that have quickly reshuffled their military status because they knew too well that they are not doing the bidding of the people, and the people may revolt. We are not talking about military regime. We are not talking that Africa, we should not go back to the era of military regime. But we are talking about give the people that you are governing the welfare that they so deserved, so that when the military is even trying to make up some allegation to truncate the power, people will say no. The people will resist it. In 1993, we saw Nigerians resisting June 12 election because we felt that election was credible. The people had that power to say no, this is not what we need. But by the time you work against the people and the military comes to power, then the next thing you see people jubilating on the street. The same man who switched off the internet because he want to corner the election to his favor, now began to use the internet to beg when he has been thrown out that make some noise. How do you make some noise over the world? Is it not through the internet?
Of course.
But so a few days ago you switched off the internet to benefit you, but now when it's going against you, you are not telling the whole world make some noise through the same internet you switched off. This is to tell you the selfishness of African leaders. Somebody will be in power with just one family. As old as I am, the only name I've heard in Congo, Gabon, is the Ali Bongo's family. For 56 years, from father to son. Is he a monarchy? Even his son is already part of his cabinet. Remember, this Ali Bongo that was removed has one time become defense minister to his father, and he has also become external relations minister.
But even the transitional government now that has been taken over by General Bryce Olugui, who is also a cousin, he is a multi-billionaire. He has embezzled a lot of money. He actually has links to drug cartels of the South American Ivorian, cartel. So, but the thing is that these are things that are well known with a couple of African heads or African elites.
Yes. The Gabonese are not really happy because they are not happy that their joy is that the Bongo's family that has turned what was supposedly to be a democratic system like a monarchical system, that they have left the power.
How? In this particular situation, I don't see that happening. If the person in charge of the transitional government is a cousin of Bongo,
we are hearing that it's a cousin, but it is not the Bongo's family any longer. At least a step has been made. An action has been carried out to some extent. What do you talk of Pobia of Cameroon? The man that has dementia that doesn't even know what is going on. Are you telling me that Pobia is the one that restructured the military against so that he will not be removed? It is the cabal. African leaders have allowed cabal to hijack their government when they are in power. The cabal is what you are seeing in Nigeria here, is what is playing around. Remember, we had this kind of cabal in 2009 when the late President Yaradua was sick.
Yes.
Everybody was like, Yaradua will come and is coming back to come and take over power. He's coming back. Meanwhile, this man was not even aware of what was going on. But the cabals in Aso Rock wanted to fester that regime on the neck of Nigerians, even when the president that we elect has become incapacitated, to the extent that the day Yaradua was brought from Saudi Arabia to Nigeria, the chief of army staff switched off the whole of street light from the airport to Aso Rock and lined up military to escort somebody that is already incapacitated into Aso Rock. Prepare the special grant for a special system to receive him. They kept him there, and look at even Nigerian leaders. Before we knew Aso Rock was turned into Mecca, they were going to Aso Rock. Some of them will come out and begin to tell us, he will soon get to the office, he will soon resume office, but we never saw that happen. That's to tell you that.
In reaction to this, the Rwandan president has actually made mention. They openly criticized the United States policy on Africa for the first time. In fact, he noted that to prevent Congo from aligning with China, U.S. is acting in a manner that risks putting Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo at war, which brings to the question, what role is the West playing here? Trying to pit the African nations, against themselves, and then they're coming back to say they're trying to create peace by recolonizing.
It is because the African leaders have not actually settled their homes. If their homes is completely settled and intact, external influence will not have access to come in. The Rwanda leader you just talked of now has stayed there now for 23 years.
Yes.
Everybody is now like, oh, he's doing well, but is that democracy? Remember now, the Congo Brazzaville has stayed there now for 40-something years.
Yes.
Then the Democratic Republic of Congo, you just made mention of where soldiers were killed. You know what is going on here now? I mean, civilians were killed. That's the DR Congo, Kinshasa. You know what is going on there? That people who now begin to manipulate the constitution when they have finished serving their tenure, they now manipulate the constitution to enrich their state, to further stay in office. Is an aberration to democracy. That's not the tenet of democracy. We are seeing it now in Cote d'Ivoire. Do you know
that Congo is one of the richest African nations in terms of crude oil?
Yes.
Yet one of the poorest African nations. So where is the money going? Where is the money going?
Every mineral you think of in this world is in DRC Congo. But that DRC is one of the poorest nations in the world, because the few individuals who are benefiting from this have remained in power and begin to siphon it to enrich their family. Alastair Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire was talking here in Nigeria that day, the last meeting they had in Nigeria. He was criticizing what happened in Niger. Even when now, I think he will have more criticism now when Gabon has joined. Remember now, he has finished serving his tenure, and now he has manipulated the constitution for him to stay further. Is that democracy? Instead of you to do the right thing, so that when the people knows that at least they are benefiting from you, and you are following the tenets of the constitution, which is the ground law, you are shifting goalposts. What was happening in Senegal was almost the same thing. Macky Sall was trying to manipulate the constitution to him to stay further. The citizens said, no, this cannot happen. They went to the street, and some people were killed, and at the end of the day, the opposition leader who was actually against him, the man is in prison. They came up with a Trump charge and said he raped. And even when the rape was discharged, they said yes, the action influenced the youth badly, and he's in the prison so that he will not contest the election. But my question here is, Esther, is that ECOWAS or Africa Union are seeing all these things happening. Why don't you come up with a summit where you begin to talk to yourself?
In fact, what happened 2 days ago in Congo? The question arose: where is the African Union?
Where is African Union in all this manipulation?
They have kept quiet. Yes. They haven't said anything. People were killed as leeches, and they said nothing.
The ones sitting tight.
They are sitting tight. They are the
ones sitting tight in the respective African countries.
Instead of them to come out and speak the truth to themselves, that what is causing the problem in Africa, it is because of our selfishness and our stingy nature of leading our people that is leading to all this. They are not speaking the truth to themselves.
Foreign influence thing. A lot of people.
There is nothing like foreign influence. They allow it to fester.
Yes.
If there was no crack, the lizard will find a space in the wall.
Now, Mr. Elvis, this next question to you is to Barrister Joe. Barrister Joe, I want us to listen to Joe Ajaero. He said that Nigerians are going through pains and suffering. The current FCT Minister Nyesom Wike is not acting in accordance with the poor people. He said Wike intends to inflict pains on Nigerians and that they are embarking on a warning strike, I think on the 5th of this month, which is on Tuesday precisely, that the strike will be embarked upon. Although the federal government said they're going to have a conversation with the NLC this evening, by Monday we should hear what the conversation would be. But this back and forth has been on for a long time. Let's take a listen to Joe Ajaero.
You can see it clearly that this is a class war between us, the dispossessed, and those that have to continue to have. Whether you call it the issue of subsidy or the new attack by the despot Wike to drive the poor out of Abuja, it is still the extension of that war. It is a war, whereby they tell you that you are building in a place that is not part of the master plan, and the master plan is only known to them. The master plan is in their pocket, and when you are building, they will tell you it's not complying with the master plan, and they will wake up, demolish saying that those structures are not illegal structures. Those structures should be legalized. Those areas they are demolishing, unless you have an alternative. There is no area they marked out, either quarter plot or half plot.
All right, that was Joe Ajaero speaking there, and you do know that he's talking about the fact that Wike said he was going to bring down a lot of homes, a lot of areas that were not properly built on. Barrister Joe, what's your take on the reaction of the NLC as quickly as possible so we can open the phone lines?
The NLC, the only problem I have with them is their inconsistency and instability, going back and forth. If actually they want to take it, because I'm worried, because most of these institutions, just like when we discussed that of NBA, these are the institutions that people look up to stand for the survival of the common man. Because if you allow the political, bulldozers and all these people to succeed in their mischievous ways, they will annihilate totally the ordinary people. So there are institutions that must be firmly on ground to withstand and put pressure on these political marauders.
Okay.
So for what he has said, I'll say a thumb up for that. Because I just came back from Abuja, I know how Abuja, Abuja is. We know Abuja metropolis, we know Abuja suburbs, we know Abuja, the main bow, and the outskirts. Most of the outskirts, such as like Lugbe, like Kubua, like all these people, like Warumpa, but the rest of them, they actually house all these low-income earners. If you are traveling Abuja in the night via the airport, you look at Lugbe. So
if you're to bring down those homes, you're going to dispossess a lot of persons.
Many traffic moving towards Lugbe axis and moving towards Nyanya, Nasarawa axis. Okay. So these are the places that poor people, middle class people find solace.
So the only issue you have,
some people are seen as Wike, has been unleashed because of what happened in Abuja. Because the current president lost Abuja people rejected him. So Tinubu actually identified Wike as somebody that has this kind of, he said he drinks whiskey at 40 years old. So he said it, I'm not putting him out, he can sue me, I will prove it. So somebody that will just drink that whiskey and begin to do something well thought and not clearly thought. So for me, I believe he wants to punish Abuja people for giving this political problem that he's having at the tribunal after getting 25%. What will Wike's major job definition be? Demolish. Okay. We have, as I said, we have had ministers of capital territories. Are we not telling us that people in their own tenure, people built without master plans, people bought properties without doing verifications, without doing searches and all that? Then those areas that people built, were they mapped out for residencies? For residential, are they residential areas, or are they for commercial areas, or are they for some other things? So there are questions that will be asked and answered. So you can't just begin to say you are going to demolish, and you're a new minister. If I'm worried about this government, in a way, I've actually been in leadership at my own little level. When you assume office, you don't begin to boast of what you will do. You have to take time to study what is on ground. Has Wike ever seen clearly the master plan of Abuja? Has he looked at the areas that might be violations? Has he looked at the approvals given to all those?
Maybe his office is not even in the master plan.
Yeah, that actually, the master plans of the states. Have you looked at documents that actually people followed before they bought lands there? The survey plans, the approvals, the gazette, the consents, and other things. These are the things you have to even look at. By the time we looked at, I know Nigeria, sir, we have, I don't know, I'm so sorry, we have so I don't know how I cannot say the stupid leaders, because you have not even studied. I'm a lawyer, I have a little bit of real estate, one or two things I've done. You can't just come and say you are going to destroy all the so and so places in Lagos. Have you called the Surveyor General of Abuja? Do you understand my point?
I need to call out the phone line. 0700 903 903 903. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number for you to call. 0700 903 903 903. The WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Hello, Esther.
How are you? Name and location, please.
Good evening. This is Tinubu from Misolo.
All right, go ahead. Kindly turn down the audio of your radio. Turn down the audio of your radio. All right. So, go ahead.
Are you hearing me right now?
Yes, go ahead.
You talk about the palliative. I don't want to hear about that palliative again. People are stopping. The palliative reach every year. Because when that man, that case, talk about the palliative, which people read the palliative reach?
Okay.
It's very, very bad.
Okay.
It's very, the world government so bad.
Okay.
From Buhari to this man. People are suffering. We don't want to hear about the palliative. The palliative, even for all of our family, nobody hear about that palliative. The issue in Judiciary, are you getting my point?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
If Judiciary do bad, Nigeria will happen for Nigeria, will happen for this Nigeria. I'm telling you.
It will not happen in Jesus' name. We reject it because if it happens, we cannot be having this kind of conversation we are having here. So let us be mindful of the statements that we make. The program is not meant to incite anything. Good.
I know. Are you listening to me?
Yes, I'm listening to you. Yes.
You put Jesus' name. That's why I just keep on about that one. Let me tell you. For example, I take few people. They all call this girl Mary. Call other people. I take people to call this man one day for
all right. Or with us, our connection 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. 0700 903 903 903. Hello. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Evening. Name and location, please. Name and location, please.
Okay, Okoli from Bagada.
All right, Okoli. Please, you have a minute. Go ahead.
Well, I have listened to your people. Okay. Trying to compare also between the past, the immediate past president's handling of our destiny and the current president. Actually, I think that what happened during Buhari's regime was that he had a pedestrian approach to the presidency.
Okay.
There was no hands-on approach. It was as if he deliberately wanted to lead the country to ruin itself and implode in all sectors. Well, there's a difference between him and what President Tinubu has struggled to do. The only thing again is that there are so many inconsistencies. So there is so much. Yes, business policy and public policy. For people that pass through the four walls of the university. Those are very serious issues. It's a business policy at the level of the business organization. It's a very serious thing. And for you to be able to pronounce policies in the area of business, data must be gathered first of all, taken up, and then management will look at it, and then start thinking of policies, the directions, and so on. But to talk of public policy, just like in when the president of U.S. at the time said that by 1969 America will be in space. Then shortly after that, you go again to say that America will not be in space. Once that policy pronouncement is made with enough data, enough basis, enough premises, then it is late for the people that we direct it. But not that you just get up and say something, and then before you know it, you change it again. That's what leads to asset volatilities also in business. That's the problem the developed world has with, things like, what do you call it, OPEC, and so on and so forth. Today the price of oil will be this, tomorrow it will be that. Then it makes planning impossible. And I think we are in this country. We cannot afford to fight with this. There is so much problem in the system. Nothing is working. And if businesses will not be able to function again, then there will be a very big problem. So I think that's what the present administration should be able to look at. To think about this thing. In fact, there are essence of going about during campaigns and so on and so forth, answering questions and so on, would also help to prepare.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. 0700 903 903 903, and the WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. Hello, welcome to the Political Spotlight. Name and location, please. Hello. Okay, we can't hear you. Call back 0700 903 903 903. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Political Spotlight. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Alright, I don't know. I can hear. We've lost that connection as well. Please kindly call back 0700 903 903 903. Hello. Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Esther Wante Chuku.
Thank you very much. Name and location, good evening.
Chigabe calling from Ijebu.
Alright,
Greetings to the guests in the studio.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know who did this to Africa. I don't just know. Man, I don't know what the problem of that is. No wonder those people in white skin that are amongst us in Africa are not seeing themselves as an African because of the things the so-called African blacks are doing. Everyone to become an emperor. They are found. Imagine Aligondo asking, please make some noise. He has never seen anything yet, sir. By saying, please make some noise. Who wants to make noise?
Make which noise?
Yeah, me should make noise, or Gabon should make noise. You better continue to stay in that house arrest. Honestly, I'm coming over to us here. I don't just know what to say even, because everything about so-called Africa, no wonder why the Western world are seeing us as calling us different names that even Trump come and call us Chico. All of this is because of the way we have taken power and thinking as if it's our, in short, this so-called African president, I think they have to revisit the system of their law. Anyone that serves and goes out must be accountable of what he has done. Not that they get immunity that them above being interrogated. Honestly, I'm just sorry. No wonder somebody sang and said, I'm sorry, oh. I'm sorry for Africa.
Thank you so much. Okay, what's the impression?
We don't have democracy in Africa. What we have is civilian rule, civilian regime.
So somebody on YouTube said Africa is practicing autocracy.
So we are practicing civilian regime and not democracy. Because when you talk of democracy, you cannot see any tenet or principles or features of democracy in what we do. So we actually, somebody told me, I said, look, we are not practicing democracy in Africa. We should not mistake because they are like, civilians, they are democratic, leaders. No. What we have in Africa for now.
Just going to copy what we cannot practice.
Is civilian leaders. Even in Nigeria here, we don't have democratic president. Okay. What we have is a civilian president.
All right, let me read out some comments on YouTube. Asamata Bright said, a country where the labor of the heroes past are all in vain. White Lion said, the governor of the Niger Delta state are evil. We should ask Okowa what he did with the money for former president gave that Wike built flyover with. I know. Okay, so White Lion also said EFCC needs to start working because EFCC is the bigger problem. Naji government said, why did the school remove the 1997 students before inserting the picture of President Tinubu? Tinubu was not originally there. Okay, this was referring to the conversation we had about Tinubu's picture on the yearbook. He said it wasn't originally there, that it was based on the barrage of questions and all of that, that it feels like it was inserted. Don't know. Well, he answered the question without holding back. back that what if you'd asked to speak to 25% by the constitution that Tinubu has not obtained in Abuja? Will he have answered? He's referring to the NBA president who affirmed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the authentic president of the country for now, until the judiciary makes their reference. Okay, so that's basically what we have on YouTube. We need to be rounding off the program now, but let me take about 2 more calls. 0700 903 903 903 0700 903 903 903. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, madam.
Evening. How are you? Please, you have a minute. Go ahead.
Let me get a call from you.
Emeka. Hello? Okay, go ahead. Yes, good evening.
I'm speaking to they did work,
All right. He's greeting you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
There's something I want to do the family of this that give us Nigeria.
The network is really poor. I can't hear what you're saying. Please, Nemeka. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. 0700 903 903 903. That is the number to call. And the WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. All right. Hello.
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 I can hear you. What's your name and location, please?
Hello.
Good evening. Name and location, please.
Yes, Jerry, calling from Abuja.
All right, go ahead.
I want to once again thank you, and my regards also to your guest.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The mind of most of us.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
The network. All right, yes, continue. Go ahead.
What did you say?
Hello, what did you say?
I said what gives me joy as a Nigerian
Okay.
is that most of the sessions, your sessions are speaking the minds of many Nigerians.
Okay.
It's enough and it's balancing. You see, this present government is a continuation of the past government.
Okay.
Our president, Tinubu, have said it, that he is one who brought this Buhari, and is going to continue from that place.
Okay.
Where he talked. 1, 2. Remember when he brought his ministers, it was at the time of the deadline. Remember very well. Look at the crop of ministers he has brought up. That shows clearly that our leaders, that problem, Africa has
This connection is really poor. I'm really just trying to make out what he's saying, but I think basically he's just talking about the fact that this administration is obviously emulating what the previous administration is all about. Let me read out some messages and then we'll round up. Good evening, Esther and your guest. My opinion is that we're not practicing democracy in Nigeria, especially this APC government since 2015 till now. Court said Nnamdi Kanu, but the federal government disobeyed. So if you look at the Emefiele issue, do you see the drama that happened that day? For me, there is nothing like democracy. You didn't tell us what your name is. Ima from First Stack. Good evening. Every Lagosian knows that the way the Lagos State cabal diverted state funds by converting individual and state properties and taxation, this system has just been taken to the federal level, and Wike is the only one who the new government has pushed forward to achieve, saying this is the same strategy that has made Lagos a glorified largest economy with a large uneducated youth and no pipe pipe-borne water. The plan is to corner the economy to a new set of individuals, and they need time to achieve it. That's from Ima from Festac. The president of Nigeria is a person whom his identity is shrouded with secrecy. Look at him telling Chicago University not to release his information. Since this so-called democracy started in Nigeria, which benefits has this democracy brought to the Nigerian economy? Substandard roads, construction, poor electricity supply, politicians enriching themselves with public funds. The people of Nigeria do not have a choice again, and that is the reason somebody will mistakenly say that the same military who gave Nigeria this one-sided constitution, the politicians are using to perpetrate their corrupt activities. All right, that's all the messages that we can take for now. Barrister Evans Ufegli, what's your final take?
Yeah, my final take is that Nigerians should get ready, because they have elected for themselves a government that has come to continue from where the previous thoughtlessness started from. It's not going to get better. I'm very sure of that. There's no planning.
Why are you so sure of that? You're prophesying.
Indices are there. Indices are there.
There's no strategic foresight, and I'm not trying to be a prophet of doom. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Very soon they will increase the price of electricity and the rest of it. Nigerians will have to go and look for how to get themselves, to feed themselves and all that. There's no government input in the welfare of the citizens. There's no social support system. The country is not well run. Okay, the National Assembly, who are supposed to make laws to ameliorate the hardship of the society, are asking that they get money to buy cars. The ministers are also demanding for that. People are being profligate. People in leadership positions are profligate. They are not ready to make things better for the citizens. So, in as much as the government have taken that route, it is left for the citizens to devise their own economic strategy to, find their footing, as the case may be, and watch. Open their eyes for that. But many of them who are suffering now and shouting up and down sold their votes.
Okay.
They sold their vote. The ones that didn't sell their vote supported the candidate they want to support. Some of these people who are shouting today, they don't have food to eat. They are begging. And the people who went on the day of election to stand on the queue to ask people which tribe they came from, and send people back to their homes, unleash violence on people and all the rest of it. We were doing analysis. We saw all that happen.
Okay.
So it is payday for them, and they should take it as a
Barrister Jerry, please, we need to round up.
I actually need to sound a very, very serious warning to our leaders, because we can recall vividly in the 60s when a wave of coup started in African countries, in Ghana, so many African countries. After all the African countries, many of them gained their independence. Some countries thought that you are so big that it will never happen to you. And Nigeria was one of them then, We so much believe that we are big, we are strong, and that coup will never happen in Nigeria. And eventually it came. It was Nigeria was the bloodiest. And there was even a counter coup again. And there was something that one poet said then, Chris Okiru, say, hooray for thunder. He said the elephants of the jungle are already talking about pumpkins. They share the meat. They let them remember thunder. But the thunder is still hovering.
Okay.
So while they share the meat, let them also remember thunder. So while we are saying hooray for thunder, but the thunder is still around. And after a while, July, another thunder struck.
Okay.
And those that celebrated the first thunder, they were no longer alive to celebrate the second thunder, because that was a poem then. So I'm telling our leaders, while being profligate in the way they behave, being above board, thinking that they can manipulate the system, cajole the judiciary, intimidate MBA, buy over everybody with all money they have, they should know that the thunder is still lurking. And the wind is blowing.
Okay.
No country, Nigeria is not too big to also witness that. So they should put their houses in order. And if they want to practice democracy, I don't know what happened to people. Why are we not in Nelson Mandela?
Okay.
Should have been our role model. We're not following the likes of Mandela.
Mr. Elvis, please, what's your final tip? Just a few seconds.
I want African leaders to know that some years ago, Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, was being celebrated as the London of Africa and all that. They had a stable democracy. Everything was going on well with Ivory Coast because of what? Félix Houphouët was the president then. And what did he do? He surrounded himself with his tribe men and practically turned Côte d'Ivoire to a one-party state. When he died and left office, Ivorian answered that they've been cheated over the years. What happened? When they wanted to come back to the tenet of practicing the real democracy, civil war came. We saw civil war. Everything scattered in Cote d'Ivoire. So African leaders should always watch their leaders. They should always, AU should come up with a summit where they begin to tell themselves the truth. Sit tight to power, using nepotism and all others to chase your people that are supposed to be beneficiaries of your government out of government, will eventually lead to what we are seeing now in Africa. It's just the beginning if care is not taken. Thank you, Esther.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being part of the show this evening. Mr. Barrister Evans Ifeli, Barrister Ijeoma Egwuatu, and Mr. Elvis Elimele, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your input with us on the Political Spotlight. My name is Esther Umwachuku. Political Spotlight takes place here every Sunday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. We've taken a minute out of our time. You can follow me on social media at Esther Umwachuku on Twitter, Esther Umwaz on Instagram, and Esther Umwachuku on Facebook. What's your handle?
John Wicked.
On Facebook?
Yes.
What about you, Mr. Elvis?
Elimele Elvis across all Facebook, Twitter, and others.
All right. What about you?
Yeah, Evans Ufeli across all
social media platforms. Yeah. All right. It's a wonderful evening, negotiation.